there it is. That's what we're looking for right there. Guys, if you cannot tell by the scene around me right now, I'm back in one of my favorite places on earth, Copart Salvage Auction. Last trip we hit lots all over Texas. This time we're in the great Northeast, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. Today we're here at Copart in Hartford. There is one car here that is very special to what I have going on at the shop right now. That car's in the next part of the lot we're going to. However, we're starting here and I see something already. I just so happened to turn a corner and see this beauty. Phenomenal color. The wheels, black, great. The brake calipers, orange, fantastic. Now, as per usual, if you've been watching these videos, you know if they're taped up like that, we're not ripping that stuff off. We're not getting in there. With this one, it is also marked no key, so we couldn't do much with this one anyway. As far as the damage, the rear, not too bad. It has these carve-in exhaust tips. They must be a real popular thing in the Hellcat, the SRT community. They look great. It looks like they're on the stock mufflers, actually. But even this rear quarter damage, it's pretty light. I don't know how much this got of the inner structure. If you look down the side, it's not in too bad. We've certainly seen a lot worse come through the shop and definitely seen a lot worse at Salvage Auction. This side is taped up over there as well. However, we can peek in through the rear door here and oh wow. Absolutely phenomenal, though if I have one complaint on it, I don't know how the red goes with the orange calipers. I don't believe Dodge offered an orange interior option, though if they did, definitely correct me, let me know in the comments. Now the most important part of this, wow, well, there's a Powerade bottle here. We don't need that. We're gonna sit that down there. This thing is remarkably clean, incredibly clean. If I didn't have dinner plans already, I'd just come back here and eat off this. They must have been having some kind of electrical issue because as you can see there, the fire department or somebody cut that battery cable. Beautiful color matched intake there. I don't see a brand. The catch can here, a little easier to identify, J&L, sweet looking piece there. I can't tell if there's too much more done to this. It obviously has a green belt, though I know some of the later cars are coming with those from the factory. Now, because of this damage, the fact that it really does not look that bad at all, it's a fairly light hit. That frame rail up and over a little bit, that one up and over a little bit. Though if you're looking straight down on it, it's, I mean, I guess it is kind of bad. I was going to say it's not too bad, but that is about 45. Nonetheless, people fix much, much worse because these cars have such crazy values, even salvage title. For anyone looking to fix this thing, I'll see if the engine's hit because second to the frame, that's what really matters here. They're huge money, as most of you guys know. Now the supercharger belt, perfectly fine. Completely on there, tight, everything you would want. The AC belt down there is not. As best I can tell, without having this car in the air, it looks like the fan shroud got pushed back into the accessory drive. Nothing major. I would have no issues with starting this thing, driving it once we cleared that stuff out of the way. The damage here in the front stopped with the radiator, with the heat exchanger there. The oil cooler, let's see. That may be a problem. However, I'm going to give this car the benefit of the doubt, being that this stuff is cut. Somebody really made sure this thing did not get started. I'm inclined to believe that whoever prepped this car to come here, whether it be the tow yard, the fire department, either due to electrical issues or due to that right there, knew what they were doing and said, I'm going to cut this, make sure nobody starts it. That way, when this car goes to be fixed, it's not going to have a seized up engine. It's not going to have a spun bearing. It's never going to be starved of oil. We have a lot more to see, so we're not going to stick around this too long. I don't think this is one we're going to be able to buy. It's simply too nice. Somebody's definitely going to fix this car. As always, if it's one of you guys, especially if you saw it in this video first, definitely let us know. I'd love to tell the story on it. I'd love to see it when it's done. Next up, I just saw something on the top of this car peeking out at me here. Something I happen to be very, very, very familiar with because I just did it on my 911 Turbo. This is an M3 competition. Absolutely beautiful. The interior color, not so much, not my cup of tea, though it is pretty clean. Let's see if the old M3 competition wants to do it for us. Unfortunately, it does not. Unlike that Hellcat where I showed you this angle and it wasn't that far out, this one certainly is. There's the oil cooler laying on the ground, though it is fully intact, which is a very important note. Let's see, under the hood, super clean. Very clean, in fact. So it looks like the majority of this damage is just right here. The back end looked okay, though that wheel is, you know, a little wonky, but no big deal compared to the rest of it. This wheel is significantly forward. If you can't tell, I don't know that I have to explain that, but just in case, Obviously, if you're wanting to fix this car, whole new front suspension, whole new frame section, hood, fender, door, mirror, gas door, rear suspension. Fortunately, because I know how hard it is to put on, the carbon roof survives, so you don't have to do that. There's no stress cracks or anything. As for the back, we just have a little bumper paint damage there where it gouged it up, maybe pulling it up on the tow truck, maybe moving it around with the loader. And you know, we have a little dirt in the exhaust, which we are very familiar with here. Can't start it, can't do much more with it, so let's keep going. Oh my God. Guys, yeah, I truly don't know where to start here, except for the fact that this may be a great candidate for our smoked series, which we just released the first episode of. My original thought on this was, wow, I hope nobody was in that. However, given the fact that the rear wheel is blown off of it, I have to assume this thing was wrecked at speed and something did not fall on it. The amount of damage on this thing is just absolutely horrendous. The axle CV is completely cracked. The hub itself is broken in half. The wheel, I mean, all the electronics back there are just screwed. For obvious reasons, we can't get too far into this, but the whole rear tub is just blown to bits. At this point, the car is almost V-shaped. The front end is up slightly. Right there, it kind of bottoms out, and then the rear end comes up pretty handily. There is not much that leaves me speechless, but something at these lots every single time does it. It is sealed up, but we can look in there a little bit. It has the black and red seats, which look phenomenal. It is an auto car. It obviously has the red and black dashboard, though there is an airbag blown straight through the middle of it. Fully sealed up. There's no way to get to the hood pop. I would really, really, really love to see this engine. I'm just going to have to assume that it's not damaged because the front end is untouched. It's really hard to see anything under there because this car is so low to the ground. However, it does not look like this engine is touched whatsoever. These cars in slightly less wrecked condition are going for roughly $30, $35, sometimes even as high as $40,000. They have to be really rough to be any less than that. Fortunately, this one's really rough. We may have a chance at this one, though as I'm sure you can tell, there's a lot here that's not going to be good. It's your typical pay less, make less type deal. The rear subframe is on the ground. The exhaust actually looks intact. I have a feeling that just like that red C6 we just did, this torque tube is blown to bits, transmission damage, rear diff damage. We're not going to be able to find too much more out about it here. We're going to have to see if we can buy this thing. We're cruising the next row over here and boom! Did not expect to see this here. Though they are getting more common in the States, they're still pretty rare, as I'm sure most of you guys know. We are, of course, up here in Tommy F. land, so maybe he has something to do with this. Maybe I'll give Tommy a shout here, see what he has to say about it. But once again, I have to imagine this is a GTST or whatever they're called. Honestly, I don't really know anything except GTRs, though I do know that this is not a GTR hood. Fortunately for whoever sent this thing here, whether it be an insurance company, a private party, whatever, these things still pull a ton of money. I'm pretty sure you could pull one of these out of the bottom of the ocean and it would still pull 10 grand at auction. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I'm trying not to get tetanus. We're just going to put that hood down and slowly back away. Wow, I mean, this thing, I'll take a crashed car any day over a car that's rotted out like this. Give me a good solid platform to start rebuilding on and I'll take it. But this, man, maybe these are some super rare old JDM speakers. Who knows? Maybe they're 1995 Walmart specials. For my JDM people, it does have an Apexi, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's sealed up, so there's not much more we can do with that, so let's keep it moving. If you've been with the channel for a while, you know we love or kind of hate these things. GTOs. For good reason, this was listed as non-running on the website. I'm not sure that they could get this hood open. However, I'm a little confused by the fact that that tape is already split. Somebody unbolted the hood hinge there, which is one way to get in there. Typically, the Copart employees are not doing stuff like this. They're not going to remove parts to get under a hood. If they can't get under there, they don't put a jump box on it. They just leave it as it is. It's pretty rare we get to do this. When a car is hit like that, especially when it's out of state, we just take their word for it that the engine doesn't run. Now, people that aren't in the industry, and some that are, do not assess risk well to these at all. It is all too common that somebody will see a car like this, non-running, no under hood pictures. It could have a truck block. It could have no engine for all they know. Yet they decide it's a fantastic idea to pay full-blown salvage retail for it. We treat this like a business because it is our business. We don't like to gamble. So typically when we see cars like this going for that amount of money, we just can't buy them. However, this one may be a little different. We got to get up here and take a sneak peek at it. We get to see that that engine is not crushed. It has the right engine in it, most importantly. I'm going to back up for just a quick second because there is actually something very, very special about this car. We've crushed probably 250 of these cars at this point, and we've only had one of these. To the naked eye, it definitely doesn't look like anything special, but when you see this red embroidery on the seat, you know it's a W40 car. It's marked by the silver gauge cluster there. Other than that, they're about the same. The only other difference being this car is pulse red. This door and move on, everybody typically knows that manual cars are more desirable and more rare. However, in these cars, while they made 794 total examples, 512 were manual, 282 were automatic. There's no battery in it. We're not going to start it. I don't know what is pushed into that engine, though it doesn't look like anything catastrophic. The GTO guys are notorious for constantly telling us here at LeeC Parts, you should have fixed that. Somebody's parting this out. It may not be us, but this car deserves to be parted out. It is rough. That frame rail is slightly in. The center of the impact was more over here towards the passenger side. That one is heavily in. That said, if you're brave enough to want to fix that thing because it's rare, cool, whatever, we do have GTO core supports in stock. Quickie here, I just wanted to point out the fact that I could smell this Maserati before I could see it. Again, a car I don't know anything about, nor care to learn about. So here it is, have your look at it, we're going away. Here we have a still beautiful base C6. It's an 07, it's an LS2 car. It has a nice set of Flowmasters there. It looks like this was somebody's baby. Tires are great, the wheels are shiny. It looks like it was just waxed before it came here. Most importantly, it's manual. Man, this is an absolute shame. It is 100% not gonna start because when it gets hit in this corner here, the ECU falls off of it. The ECU is absolutely nowhere to be found. Even if it was here, well, I don't think the connection's gonna be all that great. Go ahead and pop this hood real quick. Now, these cars do have a ton of room in the front, so even if they get hit hard like this, it's kind of rare it gets into the engine. Most commonly, if it gets hit over there very hard, it'll blow the alternator off of it. That's not the case here. It looks like we just sacrificed a Veraram intake. Needless to say, we're not starting this. We're not even trying. As far as a fixer, I mean, it's plenty doable. It is a steel frame car, so, you know, you can hack it off back as far as you want and section on another one, which we do have. But if I had to guess, unless this car is something like 10, 15, or even 20,000 miles, this car is going to be destined to be parred out. If it does go cheap enough, you could once again see something like this on our channel. This is actually a first for us. We haven't seen many of these at auction. Back in the day, I was actually looking to buy one of these as a daily. I never did it, but I have always liked them. Now, depending on who you are, you may be able to just throw a side skirt on this thing and call it straight. However, otherwise, that's a lot of floor work, a lot of rocker work, though certainly better than a lot of the stuff we see here. It has a beautiful carbon fiber spoiler. It definitely has some rear tire damage there, though it looks like the bumper is just popped out, not damaged. As far as up front, just some tacky carbon accessories. It looks like it did have a little bit of damage under the front bumper there. Nothing too bad. It looks like it may have just had some light contact there. Unless this doesn't have the battery, there is nothing here preventing this from starting. Fingers crossed. Okay, we finally got one. This car is really nice, guys. You know, I pick and choose what I say is a good, easy repair for somebody. This one, if you want to do it and cut maybe a couple corners on that rocker, you could probably be in this thing cheap. The engine bay here, clean as a whistle once again. That seems to be a trend up here, though it's not necessarily what the Northeast is known for. So as always, if one of you guys ends up buying that thing, definitely let me know because I think it'd be really cool. I saw these cars on my way into the first section of this lot. These are two cars that I know nothing about. First and foremost, before I dive into this interior, I guess I should see what this car is. Okay, well there it goes. I don't have to look at the sticker. It is a 1956 Buick Special. As is the case with a lot of old cars, it does not take much to total them. This thing got hit here on the quarter, and I suppose that about did her in. Truthfully, it does not look that bad, but I can't imagine that parts are very cheap or accessible for these. Though, honestly, looking at that, somebody could probably fix that without having to source a new quarter. Though it looks like it's already been worked pretty heavily once, but we're gonna let that slide. The interior, perfect color, red, black exterior. I mean, there's not many color combos that can beat that. It does need a little love, but we're at Salvage Auction. I mean, what do you expect? Now, I definitely would have loved to hear this thing run, but as is the case with this lot, no can do. Shut her nice and easy. Super, super cool car. If one of you guys know something about this car, anything, how rare they are, how much it's worth, let me know in the comments. It turns out in these videos that I just as often get educated by you guys. As for this Bentley, I cannot tell what's wrong with it. I will have to go back at the site and look. Not my cup of tea, I'm not going to be the one buying this, so we're actually going to go ahead and go over to that other lot now because we are running a little tight on time. Hopefully, I did not expect to spend almost 4 hours in just this section of the lot. I thought we got here in time, turns out we did not. So I'm going to head down the road just a little bit and we'll get to the other lot. Can't get out here fast enough, let's go. As you know, I've been Porsche fanboying very, very hard lately, and this is one of the best 911s I have ever seen in person. Honestly, if we stay here and look at this thing too long, I'm gonna have to take a cold shower afterwards. This is just not healthy at all. Now, before we go down this road, before we start really looking at this damage, it's time for a Scrap Life Garage pop quiz. There is one single part on this car that is ultra rare, and I would love, love, love to have it for my car. Here's your hint, it is not the carbon ceramic brakes, though I would love to have those as well. They're a little more common than the piece I'm talking about. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, 3, 2, 1, it's the spoiler. That's right, you guys have definitely heard me talk about this if you've been keeping up with my 911 build. This is the OEM Aero Kit wing. If you're lucky enough to find one used, they're 8 to 10 grand. $8,000 to $10,000. So as you can imagine, the minute I saw this car on Copart, I planned this trip. This car is the sole reason these videos are happening. I had to come up and look at this car and figured, why not stick around for 3 days and film a ton of videos as well. Now that is far too much about my story. Let's get into this car. First off, the absolute bad news with it. It's probably gonna be super, super expensive. Ideally, I would like this car to be just cracked in the front end. I mean, if this thing was missing everything from the windshield forward, I would literally not care. I would much rather save the $25,000 or $30,000 that front end is gonna cost us if we buy this thing. Start off with the fact that it's a 997.2, which is significantly more expensive than the 997.1s. Add in the fact that it is one of the most desirable Porsche colors of all time, Garge Red. Sprinkle in those carbon ceramic brakes there, which add a ton of value. Take into account the fact that it only has 32,000 miles. Just for good measure, make it a Turbo S, because why not? Let's make it very, very expensive. Take all those things into consideration and you may end up with one of the most expensive 997 turbos to ever sell at Salvage Auction. We are going to look this car over a little harder, but at face value, it has very, very clean tan interior. It does have a bag blown. They're dirt cheap, no big deal. One place I am not super educated on as far as the 997 turbos are the 997.2 transmissions. If I recall, these are more similar to the newer 991 PDKs. The 997.1 autos were kind of not that great. These are apparently phenomenal. Tan is definitely not the most desirable interior color on this, but honestly, the cars in this condition are so limited that somebody's gonna pay whether it's tan, black, blue. Yes, they did make blue in these cars. Honestly, this car could be completely missing an interior and someone would still pay a ton of money for it. Another thing working against us here, it is not that badly wrecked. You might be thinking that it kind of looks not that great from this angle, but really when you get into this car, I have a feeling this thing's gonna be a very easy fix. Now, because of the way these are designed with all the trunk interior in here, which we're not gonna go stripping out of it, obviously, you can't really get too good of a look. Starting with the stuff you can see in plain view. The radiator, busted. Headlight, very clearly gone. Fender, upper fender support. This upper frame rail section all needs to be worked. This front tub is creased. In fact, the whole thing is bowed in right there, as you can tell. The front bumper is very obviously all mangled up. The DRLs are hanging off, though they may be savable. One thing that, funny enough, did survive is this not so rare Aero Kit front lip. You can actually still buy those new for about $1,200. Now, where this gets a little tricky, when I open this door, it dropped down like 2 inches. There may be a little more going on here. As you can see, there's some insurance markings there. It's a little hard to see here, but this thing really does not want to shut. All right, we had to stick the camera down and really put a lot of pressure on that to get it shut. Fortunately, we did. It's all sealed up nice and tight. But honestly, if anybody's bidding on this car, I kind of hope you watch this video. And you know, just as a special thank you, maybe don't run the car up to 60 grand. Now, if there is one thing that may be a saving grace on this car for us buying it, it's this. As oblivious as people can be, it's a little hard to miss that. It's clear as day in the auction pictures, the car does not run. Copart either tried to start it and it didn't run, or they were told by the insurance company to not let anybody start it. As for why it's overheating, well, the radiator is blown off it. Now, if you've watched the channel, you know you definitely can start these cars for about a minute before you run into issues, before you really have to start worrying about them overheating. Given that this is not a car I own, we're obviously not going to do that. As far as the condition of some of the other desirable stuff on this, like the carbon ceramics, well, it's phenomenal. No other word to describe it. The car is in fantastic shape. There are very few cars that I hate to see wrecked. This is honestly one of them. I won't hate it so much if I'm able to buy it and get that wing, but as of now, it almost brings a tear to my eye. Though it doesn't bring a ton of value, it does also have the 997.2 rear bumper and taillight setup, which as a kit is probably $3-4 grand. It has a beautiful carbon fiber airbox cover. I don't know if this is OEM on like the new Turbo S's or anything, but if it is, good on you, Porsche. And if it's not, good on you whoever made this thing, because it fits great. It looks like it could be OEM. The engine bay, as has been the case with most stuff here, is ultra clean. Now, for those who don't know, the 997.1 was the end of the famous Mezger engine. My car has one. Well, AIM Performance has one out of my car, but we'll get it back soon enough. This is essentially the 991 motor. It's completely different. It's direct injected, I believe. It's a whole new era for Porsche. They're doing crazy things in them, though the people I've talked to seem to still prefer the Mezger. And let's be real for a second, the Mezger fanboy online army, they're never going away. Being that it's a Porsche, there's not much we can see of the engine. It does look like all the right stuff's intact underneath of it, so I don't have any concerns. Given where it was hit, given what's going on with the car, I would have no issues trusting that engine, even though I'm not hearing it run. Now, last but not least, of course, this beauty right here. I'm not going to even listen to anything different. This is the best wing ever made for the 997s. If you have a different opinion, you're just wrong. This is the first one I've really been able to get my hands on in person. Frankly, I think this is just one of those pieces I really want because it's super rare. Now, there's not a whole lot else we can do with this, being that we can't start it. So we're gonna go ahead and shut it up and I guess see if there's anything else cool in this section of the lot. This is definitely not a truck or SUV video, but I know these things were pulling crazy money when they first came out, so I feel like I should just go take a walk around it. I mean, why not? I thought these things were super cool, and this is the first one that I've seen in person at one of these lots. I'm not gonna go crazy with this thing because I don't think I can add much value, but I'll give it a walk around for you guys. The passenger side looks pretty phenomenal. The interior, leather, blown bags, big screen, looks pretty cool. It looks tough, super tough. I just caught that. It looks like there's some suspension damage down there. Does have a Bilstein, though a lot of that's going to need to be replaced. Obviously the tie rod is just completely hanging down there. The roof right there, I don't know how that happened unless this thing was on its side, which judging by that, this very well may have been somebody actually using this the right way and flipping it over. Which if you did, you know what, good on you. Sucks that the car's here, but at least you had your fun. Even knowing nothing about these things, you can look at this and tell that it's something special. The front end of this is not something you see every day. This is another flood car, and this being off of it does not do it any favors. There's not much we can do about that either. Usually if I see something wrong, I'll try to prop it back up there, but this one has a little bit stronger of a smell. Obviously, we're not going to try to start this thing. It wasn't listed as running on the site. One note here, the interior combo is pretty slick. I'm not a tan guy, but when you mix it in with a little dark blue, put it in a car like this with a kind of slate blue exterior color, I have to admit it looks pretty cool. That's a pretty unmistakable badge right there, V12. We all know what that means, or at least I hope we do. There we go. This thing just stood me up for like 5 seconds straight. There's a latch under there that I'm trying to pull up. Turns out you pull it forward. And there is our 6-liter V12. And unlike the rest of the cars here, this engine bay, not so clean. Definitely a very unique looking engine bay. That's just cast aluminum there. That is super cool. Any Aston mechanics out there, any Aston fans out there, definitely chime in and let me know what the deal is with this car. And I'm gonna have you guys tell me what you think this thing deserves to sell for. The estimated retail value on Copart's website is $135,000. Keep in mind that is clean title, not wrecked, not sitting like this. We have an absolutely mangled, bumblebee looking type thing 71 Camaro. Now, we don't buy a ton of these. Let me correct myself. We don't buy any of these. That will change the day I find one with an LS in it. Now, if we can get the hood popped, we'll see if today is that day. And it is certainly not. Now, let me educate you guys. It's a V8. It has a carburetor. The end. Oh, hold on. Has a Holley intake manifold, carburetor, riser. I don't know what you call that. Guys, I may be old. I may have gray hair, but I don't know a thing about carburetors. The one thing I will say that other than the wreck damage, which is pretty horrendous. We'll take a walk around the other side here just in a second. It doesn't look that bad. Let's see, I kind of thought that was a hubcap down there. Turns out it's the carburetor lid. Holley Sniper EFI? Hold on a second. Sniper EFI. Electronic fuel injection. Carburetor, right? Or is this some kind of EFI kit that is made to look like a carburetor? I'm gonna task you guys letting me know what I just saw. Obviously the driver of this car had a bad time, and unlike the Bronco, you're definitely not supposed to do this in them. It's a manual 4 on the floor, I believe they call it. Let me say that like a true American. 4 on the floor, baby, hell yeah, partner. The door, just like the 911, doesn't shut at all. It does have a Z28 badge. I know some of the older Z28s are pretty rare. I don't know if this is one of those. So let me know in the comments, again, if it is. Guys, we have obviously reached the hashtag van life section of this lot. And believe it or not, I've actually been looking for one to build. Now keep in mind, guys, I am doing this for fun. I am by no means some degenerate who blew all his money and maxed out his credit cards building Porsches and ZR1s. More so, I am definitely not the kind of person that would consider moving my wife and 4 animals into a van because I want to sell the house and build more cars. Just not me. Let me say I'm not talking bad about anybody who would choose to do that. In fact, it actually sounds kind of cool. I am going to take a quick walk around because I am looking to buy one before my house gets foreclosed, before I pick up another project and no longer have money for it. But what better start to the van life than buying something that used to belong to Jeff Bezos himself? I have to imagine that that increases the provenance of it. Just like any car you see at Barrett-Jackson, this car has to be worth at least 2 or 3 times more because it was owned by somebody famous. I don't think he signed the dash or anything, but the car looks overall pretty nice. We do have a little work to do. In fact, I don't see the bed, shower, or master bath, but we can work on that. We can figure out that later if we buy this thing. But for now, we're gonna shut this back up and get to the cars. So coming down to the end here, I just happened to notice this car, which honestly, from the front, kinda looks like a regular 2 Series, but that color kinda made me do a double take. Then I saw those Y wheels sticking out, and it looks like we have an M2, which if it follows M3 styling for the wheels, this might be a competition. Thing looks super cool. Oh my God, blue stitching. You know, if you're gonna have black interior, if you're not gonna do something wild like red or something crazy and bright, this is a winner. Black, some Alcantara thrown in, some matching stitching. I mean, this might be a runner-up for best interior here. Wow, look, the vented seat there. Even the inside of the perforations has blue. That is sick. Super cool touch by BMW. The car actually still has the blue plastic wrap on the dead pedal there, which, funny enough, actually matches the color of the car. Leads me to believe it's a low-mile car, which you look right here, 6,400 miles. It also happens to be missing the exhaust. Now, I believe I got a glimpse of something in the back seat, though I didn't pay much attention to it, and there it is. Now, what I'm guessing happened here is somebody had an aftermarket exhaust on this thing. They took their aftermarket one off, went ahead and put the stock one just in the back seat instead of attaching it, and called it a day. Fortunately, nothing is damaged on this where we can't start it, so let's see if it has any power. All right, we're halfway there. Let's see if we can break the trend of this lot. Well, we're just screwed at this point. Hopefully we have better luck tomorrow, but as far as cars that start, this lot just ain't it. Now, as far as the damage on here, light scratches up there on the pillar, no big deal. It's just some suspension damage. I mean, that whole corner, every piece of suspension, bracketry, everything. Bumper, hood, fender, all needs to be replaced. Well, I just spent a couple minutes trying to get that hood unlatched, and somehow, I don't know if it got shifted slightly, but it is stuck shut. Now, just looking at it from the side here, I cannot tell if there's any frame rail damage, though I have to imagine there's something structural going on here. From the damage I'm seeing there, there's no way this car gets totaled. You can see through the front bumper there, there's something going on with the oil cooler that's facing straight down. It should not be that direction. Either way, somebody's gonna pay a ton of money for this car, and it's probably deserving of it. You guys know by now, I always get caught up in here. I think I've been at this one for like 6 hours at this point. But for everything you guys see on film here, I'm getting impressed by something that I don't think's worth putting in the video, but I go check it out anyway, and boom, 15 minutes are gone. Tomorrow we have a massive day in Newburgh, New York. So I'm gonna save my energy for then. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. Bye. Now I'm gonna go out. Can't say that anymore. Can't say go out on a limb. You guys called me out on that one too much. This lot's actually divided up into, ooh, damn, it was busting my ass. There is, man, go away truck, god damn it. Now that may simply be, because that's it.